Jake opened his eyes to darkness. The air felt different, thinner somehow. He tried to move, but pain shot through his body, forcing him to lie still. Memories came back in pieces. The mission. The sudden storm. His ship, spinning out of control. The crash. Had been part of a small exploration team sent to investigate an uncharted planet. Their scanners had detected unusual energy readings, suggesting intelligent life. His ship got separated from the others when the storm hit. Now he was here wherever. Here was a dim blue light began to fill the space around him, revealing smooth curved walls unlike any human structure. His breathing quickened as realization set in. He was not in his ship. This was not human architecture. Jake forced himself to sit, up ignoring the pain. His flight suit was gone, replaced by a simple garment made of soft, unfamiliar material. He scanned the room for anything he might use as a weapon, finding nothing. The room had no visible doors or windows, yet the light continued to brighten, coming from the walls themselves. A section of the wall suddenly disappeared, revealing a tall, slender figure silhouetted against bright light. Jake shielded his eyes, trying to make out details. The figure stepped forward and Jake felt his heart stop. She was clearly female despite her alien features. Standing nearly 7 feet tall with blue skin that seemed to shimmer with subtle patterns. Her face was elegant with large almond-shaped eyes that glowed a soft violet. Her movements were graceful, almost flowing as she approached him. "You are awake, good," she said. Her voice had an unusual musical quality, but he understood her perfectly. She spoke English. How was that possible? "Where am I?" Jake asked, his voice rough from disuse. "Who are you?" "My name is Zayla," she replied, kneeling down to his level. "You are in my research facility. Your vessel crashed in our forest. You were injured. I brought you here to heal." Jake tried to process this information. She had saved him, but why? How long? Had he been unconscious? Where was the rest of his team? "3 of your planetary rotations," Zayla answered as if reading his thoughts. "Your body's regenerative abilities are remarkable. Most species would not have survived such trauma." Jake stared at her, the implications of her words sinking in. 3 days. He had been here 3 days, and she spoke of other species as if contact with aliens was normal for her. "Can I contact my ship, my team?" Jake asked. "They will be looking for me." Zayla tilted her head in what seemed like sympathy. "We detected no other vessels like yours, only debris. You were alone." The news hit Jake hard. The others hadn't made it, or perhaps they had turned back when the storm hit. Either way, he was alone on an alien world with no way to contact Earth. "You are the first human we have encountered," Zayla continued, her eyes studying him with scientific interest. "Your physiology is fascinating. Your species' adaptability is unlike anything in our records." Jake felt like a specimen under a microscope. "Are there others like you here?" "Yes, our settlement is nearby. We are the Nalari. This region has been our home for many generations." She helped Jake stand, his legs weak from disuse. She supported him with surprising strength, leading him toward the opening in the wall. Jake squinted as they entered a larger space filled with strange equipment and glowing screens. Several other Nalari moved about the room, stopping to stare at him as they passed. They reached a large circular window, and Jake gasped at the view. Outside stretched a landscape of purple vegetation and towering crystal formations. A city rose in the distance, structures of flowing organic design, catching the light of 2 small suns in the sky. "Welcome to Nalaria," Jake Zayla said. Days passed as Jake regained his strength. Zayla became his constant companion, explaining Nalari culture and technology, while asking endless questions about Earth and humans. She recorded everything, fascinated by his descriptions of Earth customs, food, art, and politics. Jake learned that the Nalari were an ancient civilization with technology far beyond human capabilities. They had not developed space travel, preferring to study the universe through long-range sensors and probes. Their evolution on a stable planet meant they never developed the adaptability that characterized humans. "Your species thrives on challenge," Zayla observed one day as they walked through her laboratory. "Humans actively seek difficulties to overcome. This concept is foreign to us, Jake shrugged. It's just how we are. We push boundaries. We explore. That is why you are so valuable to our research. Zayla said. Your perspective is unique. Jake soon discovered that not all Nalari shared Zayla's fascination. With him, some viewed him with suspicion, especially Voren, the head of security, who often watched Jake from a distance. His expression unreadable, Zayla showed Jake how to use their communication systems, explaining that they might be able to boost his ship's distress signal to reach Earth. But such a transmission would take years to arrive. As weeks passed, Jake became more integrated into Nalari society. Zayla taught him their language, though most Nalari continued to speak English with him, having quickly learned it from their linguistic databases. They valued knowledge above all else, and Jake represented a new source of information. Zayla took Jake to the central archive, a vast chamber where the collective knowledge of their civilization was stored. Hovering orbs projected historical events as three-dimensional images telling the story of the Nalari people. They evolved in harmony with their environment. Zayla explained, their technology grew from understanding natural systems rather than conquering them. They had achieved virtual immortality through cellular regeneration centuries ago. Their population remained carefully balanced with their resources. Jake realized how different human history was, with its wars, conquests, and struggles. He told Zayla about humanity's violent past, its triumphs and failures, its resilience in the face of disaster. Your people have suffered much. Zayla said, yet you continue to strive. That quality is lacking in my species. We have become stagnant in our perfection. One evening, as they watched the twin suns set from a crystal observation tower, Zayla revealed something that changed everything. The Council has been monitoring your recovery and integration, she said. They believe you could be valuable, not just as a research subject, but as a bridge between our worlds. What do you mean? Jake asked. She turned to him, her violet eyes intense. We have repaired your ship's communication system. We can send a message to your people. Jake felt a surge of hope and excitement. Could he really contact Earth? But there is more. Zayla continued. The Council proposes that you remain here as a representative of your species, an ambassador, while we establish proper communication with your world. Jake hadn't expected this. He had assumed he would either be stuck here forever or eventually find a way home. The idea of becoming an official intermediary between humans and Nalari was both terrifying and exhilarating. Why me? Jake asked. I wasn't even the leader of my expedition. I'm just a pilot. Zayla smiled, a gesture she had learned from him. It is precisely because you are not a leader that you are perfect. You have adapted to our world without trying to change it. You have learned our ways while sharing yours. Your perspective is valuable precisely because it is ordinary. Jake laughed at that. On Earth, I would never be described as ordinary. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. His mind raced with possibilities. If he accepted this position, he would be making first contact history. Earth would eventually send others, trained diplomats, scientists, leaders. But he would be first. He would help shape the relationship between two intelligent species. As he stood at his window looking at the alien sky, Jake felt the weight of the decision before him. He thought of his life on Earth, his small apartment, his job, his few casual friendships, nothing truly binding him there. And then there was Zayla, her intelligence and curiosity, her gentle guidance, her growing understanding of human emotions. She had become important to him in ways he hadn't expected. Jake knew what his answer would be. He would stay. He would be the bridge. The first human ambassador to an alien world, and perhaps in the process he would discover why the thought of leaving Zayla behind filled him with such sadness. The Nalari Council chamber was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. 12 tall figures sat in a circle on floating platforms, surrounded by swirling holographic displays. Each council member wore flowing robes with patterns that seemed to move and change, reflecting their thoughts and status. Jake stood in the center beside Zayla, feeling small and primitive compared to these ancient beings. Their eyes, all that same violet shade, watched him with expressions ranging from curiosity to concern. Voren, the security chief, spoke first, his tone sharp. Your proposal is unprecedented, Zayla. The human is barely recovered from his injuries. His mind cannot possibly comprehend the responsibilities you suggest. Jake bristled at this, but kept his expression neutral. He had learned that showing emotion was considered immature among the Nalari. Zayla stepped forward. Her own robes shimmered with patterns of confidence and determination. I have spent many cycles studying him. She said, humans adapt quickly. Their minds process new information differently than ours. They thrive on challenges where we seek stability. This makes them valuable, especially this one. The eldest council member. Ilara leaned forward, the patterns on her robe shifting to show interest. You believe this human can truly serve as a bridge between our worlds? Yes, Zayla replied without hesitation. Jake understands our ways. He has learned our language faster than our models predicted. He brings perspectives we have never considered. Jake felt a mixture of pride and nervousness as the council members exchanged glances. They were communicating telepathically, a skill all Nalari possessed but rarely used in the presence of outsiders. Finally, Ilara spoke, addressing Jake directly. Tell us, human, why should we trust you with this responsibility? Jake took a deep breath and stepped forward. I did not come here looking for this role. He said honestly, I was simply an explorer who crashed on your world. But in the time I've spent here, I've come to respect your civilization, your knowledge, your harmony with your environment. He paused, looking at each council member. I believe both our worlds have much to gain from peaceful contact. Humans have qualities that might benefit the Nalari, just as your wisdom and technology could help Earth. A murmur ran through the council. Jake continued. Humans are adaptable because our world is harsh. We face natural disasters, disease, conflict. We survive. We solve problems in ways you might never consider because you've never needed to. Our differences make this exchange valuable. Voren made a dismissive gesture. These qualities you describe sound like weaknesses, not strengths. Instability, conflict. These are primitive traits. Jake shook his head. Respectfully. They're tools for growth. When humans face challenges, we innovate. We create new solutions. We evolve without waiting for natural selection. Your civilization is amazing, but from what I've seen, it hasn't changed significantly in centuries. This boldness caused several council members to shift uncomfortably, but Ilara nodded slowly. The human speaks truth, she admitted. Our stability has become stagnation. We have perfected our world, but lost our drive to improve. The debate continued for hours, Jake and Zayla answering questions about human history, culture, ethics, and capabilities. Jake described Earth's diverse ecosystems, its varied cultures, its art and music. He explained human governments, economies, and technologies. He spoke of humanity's greatest achievements and acknowledged its darkest moments. When the questions finally ended, the council asked Jake and Zayla to wait outside while they deliberated. Do you think they will agree? Jake asked. As they stood in the crystalline antechamber, Zayla touched his arm, a gesture of reassurance she had learned from him. They will see the wisdom in it. The signs are favorable. Jake had learned to trust her insights into her own people. But he remained nervous, pacing the chamber while Zayla stood still, watching him with fascination. Your energy when facing uncertainty is remarkable, she observed. Most Nalari would meditate, seeking inner calm. You actively move, expressing your anxiety. Physically. Jake smiled. It's a human thing. We can't all be serene and composed all the time. When they were finally called back, the council had reached a decision. Ilara announced that Jake would be granted the position of human ambassador. He would help establish communication with Earth and serve as cultural interpreter for both species. He would have access to certain Nalari technologies and knowledge, but with restrictions for security. As Jake and Zayla left the council chamber, Jake felt both elated and overwhelmed. The responsibility was enormous, but Zayla seemed confident in him. Her belief strengthened his own. The following days were filled with preparations. A living space was created for Jake, incorporating both Nalari aesthetics and approximations of human comforts. He was given access to their knowledge archives, though certain advanced technologies remained restricted. He began recording detailed messages to be sent to Earth, explaining his situation and the peaceful intentions of the Nelari Zela remained his primary guide and partner. Their work together took on new importance as they developed protocols for future human-Nalari interactions. They created translation matrices for complex concepts unique to each species. They cataloged potential cultural misunderstandings and prepared recommendations for avoiding conflict. During this time, Jake noticed subtle changes in Zela's behavior. She stood closer to him during their work sessions. Her eyes lingered on him when she thought he wasn't looking. The musical tones in her voice shifted when they were alone, becoming softer, more personal. Jake found himself increasingly drawn to her as well. He admired her intelligence, her patience, her growing understanding of human emotions. He looked forward to their time together, both professional and personal. He began teaching her human customs, casual touches, expressions of friendship, moments of comfortable silence. One evening, as they worked late in Zela's laboratory, an alert sounded the communication system had detected, a response to their transmission. An Earthship had received their signal and was sending a message. Jake felt his heart race as the message translated. This was the moment he'd been waiting for: contact with humans, confirmation that he wasn't alone in the universe anymore. But as Zela's screens displayed the message, his excitement turned to concern. Earth had received their transmission. The message was from United Earth Command. They were sending a ship, not a diplomatic vessel, but a military one. Their message spoke of rescue, of bringing Jake home, of assessing the Nalari. It contained veiled language about securing human interests and establishing protocols. Jake and Zela exchanged worried glances. They had hoped for diplomats, for scientists. Instead, Earth was sending soldiers. They must believe I need rescue, Jake said. Or that I'm being held against my will, or they simply fear what they do not understand. Zela suggested. Her patterns showed concern. Jake knew she was right. Humanity had always approached the unknown with caution, often with weapons ready. Despite all their progress, humans still reacted to new discoveries with suspicion. They were sending a ship to protect their interests, not to extend friendship. We need to update the council, Jake said. We need to prepare them for this response. They must understand that humans might appear hostile even when seeking peace, Zela agreed. They worked through the night, preparing presentations, explaining human military protocols, the chain of command, the psychology behind Earth's cautious response. They emphasized that a show of force didn't necessarily mean humans intended violence, only that they were protecting themselves from potential threats. The council was disturbed by the news. Some members suggested hiding their advanced technology. Others proposed restricting the Earthship's landing zone, keeping the humans isolated until their intentions were clear. Jake found himself defending his own species, explaining the complex mix of curiosity and fear that drove human exploration. He promised to communicate with the Earthship, explaining the peaceful nature of the Nalari, convincing them to send diplomats rather than soldiers. As the preparations continued, Jake realized how much had changed. He had arrived as a stranger in an alien world. Now he stood in the council chamber speaking for humanity while also defending the Nalari perspective. He had become the bridge he'd promised to be late, one night after another, long council session. Jake returned to his quarters exhausted. He sat on the edge of his bed, head in his hands, trying to process everything. The Earthship would arrive within weeks. Their response to his messages had been cautious but positive. They were sending a diplomatic team alongside the military personnel. Soft chime announced a visitor. Jake looked up as the door shimmered open, revealing Zela. She entered without waiting for permission, a sign of their growing closeness. You should rest, she said. Her pattern showed concern for him. Jake smiled tiredly. I'll rest when this is over, when humans and Nalari are talking to each other, without me in the middle. Zela sat beside him, closer than Nalari typically sat to others I have been studying. Human customs, she said softly. Particularly human relationships. Jake felt his pulse quicken. What have you learned? Many interesting things, she replied, her eyes meeting his. The ways humans express attachment, the importance of physical proximity, the complex emotions you experience. Jake swallowed hard, aware of how close she was of the subtle scent that always surrounded her like distant flowers. Why this particular area of study? Zayla touched his hand, her fingers cool against his skin. Because I find myself experiencing similar responses when we are together. Responses that are not typical for Nalari with colleagues. The Nalari Observatory, perched atop the highest crystal formation, offered a perfect view of the approaching Earth ship. Jake stood beside Zayla, watching the small dot grow larger in the purple sky. His heart pounded with a mix of excitement and anxiety. After months on this alien world, he was about to see humans again. Preparations for the arrival had consumed everyone. The landing zone had been prepared outside the main settlement. The diplomatic team had rehearsed their greetings. The security measures had been reviewed countless times. Vorin had insisted on showing military restraint, but readiness, making it clear that while the Nalari welcomed the humans, they were not defenseless. Jake felt caught between worlds, more than ever before. He had spent so long explaining humans to the Nalari. Now he would need to explain the Nalari to humans. He wondered how the Earth representatives would see him. Had he changed? Would they consider him compromised by his time among aliens? Zayla sensed his turmoil. Her patterns shifted to show support and something deeper, something personal that only Jake had learned to recognize. She stood closer than necessary, her arm brushing his, a human gesture of comfort she had adopted. They will see what I see, she said softly. A bridge between worlds. A human who understands both sides. Her fingers intertwined with his, another human custom she had embraced. Jake squeezed her hand gently, grateful for her presence, for her belief in him. The week since, their late-night conversation had brought them closer, their relationship evolving into something neither species had protocols for. The council observed with scientific curiosity, some members expressing concern about objectivity, others seeing their connection as proof that meaningful bonds between species were possible. The Earthship grew larger now, clearly visible as a sleek military vessel. Though smaller than the exploration ships, it carried enough firepower to cause concern among the council. Jake had assured them the weapons were standard procedure, not specific to this mission, but the Nalari remained cautious. It's time, Zayla said. We should join the reception committee. They made their way down from the observatory. Jake dressed in a modified Nalari robe designed to blend elements of both cultures, a symbolic choice to show his position between worlds. Zayla wore the formal patterns of a senior scientist, but had incorporated subtle human design elements, a gesture Jake deeply appreciated. The landing zone buzzed with activity. Alara and the council members stood in formation, their robes displaying patterns of formal welcome, mixed with cautious readiness. Vorin had positioned security personnel discreetly throughout the area, their weapons non-lethal but effective if needed. Jake took his position slightly ahead of the Nalari representatives. As the Earthship descended, he felt the weight of history on his shoulders. The first official contact between humans and Nalari would shape relations for generations. The ship touched down with precision, its engines powering down with a diminishing whine. After a moment of silence, the main hatch opened, a ramp extended, and several figures appeared. Humans in formal, military and diplomatic uniforms. Jake recognized the insignia of United Earth Command, the Diplomatic Corps, the Scientific Division. A woman stepped forward, clearly the leader. Her uniform indicated the rank of commander. She was flanked by armed security personnel and several civilians in diplomatic attire. Her eyes scanned the assembled Nalari before settling on Jake, her expression revealing surprise at his appearance in alien clothing. Jake stepped forward, raising his hand in the universal gesture of peace. Commander Laura Hall, he said, using the information from their communications. I am Jake Bell, former pilot now serving as interim ambassador. Welcome to Nalaria. Commander Hall studied him, her gaze professional but searching. You appear well, Ambassador Bell. We were concerned about your condition after your crash. I'm fully recovered thanks to Nalari medical technology, Jake replied. He gestured to the assembled council. May I present the Nalari High Council, led by Elder Ilara, there, Advanced civilization has welcomed me, and now extends that welcome to all of you. Formal introductions followed the Earth delegation, maintaining military discipline while displaying diplomatic courtesy, the Nalari responding with their own formal protocols, Jake and Zayla serving as translators, though most of the Earth team wore advanced translation devices. As they moved to the prepared reception area, Jake overheard whispers among the human security team, their eyes darting suspiciously at the tall blue aliens, their hands never straying far from their weapons. He recognized the tension, the instinctive human response to the unknown. Commander Hall addressed the council with practiced diplomacy. We come in peace, seeking to establish formal relations between our worlds and to better understand the circumstances of our pilots extended. Alara responded with equal formality. We welcome the opportunity for exchange. Ambassador Bell has taught us much about humans. We hope to learn more and to share our knowledge where appropriate. The diplomatic phrasings barely concealed the underlying caution on both sides. Humans wondering if Jake had been coerced or manipulated. Nalari wondering if humans harbored conquest in their hearts beneath their peaceful words. As the formal reception continued, Jake found a moment to speak privately with Commander Hall. She had been his superior during training years ago before he became a pilot. They seem peaceful enough. Hall said, her voice low. But something about them makes my security team nervous. Too perfect. Too controlled. Almost like they're hiding something. They're not hiding anything. Jake explained. They're just different. Their evolution took a different path. Their society values harmony and knowledge above all. They find human unpredictability both fascinating and concerning. Hall studied him closely. You've gone native, Bell. Her tone wasn't accusatory, merely observational. Your speech patterns, your mannerisms. You're not the hotshot pilot I remember. Jake smiled ruefully. No, I'm not. That man crashed here months ago. This place, these people, especially Zayla. They changed me. Hall's eyes flicked to Zayla, who stood conversing with the Earth scientists. The commander noticed the subtle patterns on her robes, the way her eyes occasionally sought Jake. The special scientist, you two are close. Jake met her gaze steadily. Yes, interesting, Hall said. She knows you'll be returning with us. Jake shook his head. I won't be returning. Commander, I'm staying as the official human ambassador. The council has approved it. I've sent all the documentation, Hall frowned. This isn't a permanent posting. Bell Earth Command expects you to return and debrief properly. Your knowledge of the Nalari is vital to our security assessments. Jake had anticipated this response. No one knows the Nalari better than I do, he argued, which is precisely why I should remain here. Build on the trust I've established. Continue learning from them. They have so much to offer us, Commander, technology, knowledge, philosophical insights. But they need to trust us first. Their conversation was interrupted as one of the Earth security officers approached with urgent news. The ship's sensors had detected energy readings from beneath the settlement. Powerful emissions unlike anything in their database, the officer spoke too loudly. Drawing attention from nearby, Nalari Voran stepped forward, his patterns shifting to defensive alertness. You scan our home without permission, he said, his voice carrying the first hint of anger Jake had heard from a Nalari. The situation escalated quickly. Security personnel from both sides moved closer. Translations became confused. Gestures were misinterpreted. Jake saw the moment unraveling, the delicate peace threatening to shatter before it had truly begun. Stop, Jake shouted, moving to stand between the groups, his voice carrying authority that surprised even himself. This is exactly what we must avoid. Misunderstandings. Fear of the unknown. He turned to Voran in Nalari. The humans scan everything, it's their way. Not malice, but caution. They fear what they do not understand. Just as you fear their weapons. Then to Hall in English. The energy readings are from their central archive. Their knowledge repository. It's not a weapon, it's their history, their science, their art. Everything that makes them. Nalari Zayla moved to stand beside him, supporting his position with her presence. Elder Alara joined them, followed by the human diplomatic chief. The moment of tension held balanced on a knife's edge. Then slowly both sides stepped back. Weapons lowered, postures relaxed. Jake felt exhaustion wash over him. This was only the first of many such moments, he realized. The path of understanding between such different species would not be smooth, but it was necessary. Later, as the formal meetings continued in the council chamber, Jake found himself alone with Zayla in a small antechamber. She touched his face, her cool fingers tracing his features. "You spoke with authority today," she said. "Something changed in you." Jake caught her hand in his. "I realized something. When I stood between humans and Nalari, I wasn't torn between two worlds. I was exactly where I belong." Her patterns shifted, showing emotions that transcended translation. "I feared you would leave with them," she admitted. "When your people arrived, I saw how you looked at them, how your body language changed. I thought perhaps you would remember what it means to be among your own." Jake shook his head. My kind are those who seek understanding, who build bridges, who see differences as strengths." He pulled her closer, ignoring Nalari protocols about personal space. "This is where I belong. Zayla, here with you, between worlds." Her patterns swirled with joy and relief. "You can't deny that you love me, human," she whispered, using words she'd heard him say during their cultural exchanges. 6 months had passed since the arrival of the Earth delegation. The initial tension had gradually transformed into cautious cooperation. A small human outpost had been established near the Nalari settlement. Scientific and cultural exchanges occurred. Daily, though, under careful protocols, military personnel from Earth maintained a presence, their wariness slowly giving way to curiosity. Jake found himself busier than ever, his days filled with meetings, translations, cultural explanations, and diplomatic negotiations. His position as bridge between worlds had become official. Earth Command had reluctantly approved his status as permanent ambassador, though they still expected regular reports and unwavering loyalty to human interests. The Nalari Council similarly recognized his unique position, but reminded him often of his responsibilities to their world. This dual loyalty might have torn another person apart, but Jake had found balance. His relationship with Zayla providing an anchor amidst the competing demands. They had formalized their personal connection in a ceremony that blended human and Nalari traditions. Not quite marriage by either world's standards, but a recognized partnership that gave their relationship official standing. The council had approved after much debate. Seeing the diplomatic advantages, Earth representatives had been more surprised, some uncomfortable with the interspecies union, others seeing it as a powerful symbol of cooperation. Today, Jake and Zayla walked through the human outpost, observing the integration of technologies. Several Nalari scientists worked alongside human engineers, adapting compatible systems, each side carefully guarding their most advanced secrets while sharing enough to demonstrate good faith. Dr. Maya Patel, the human scientific liaison, approached them. Her initial skepticism about Jake had transformed into respect as she witnessed his effectiveness. "Ambassador," she greeted him. "The atmospheric processors are operating at 90% efficiency. The Nalari cooling systems work perfectly with our power." Grid Jake nodded appreciatively. "The Nalari design principles focus on harmony with natural systems. It's more efficient than our brute force." Approach Dr. Patel laughed. "We humans do tend to hammer our way through problems, don't we?" She nodded to Zayla. "The crystalline communication relay your team suggested has doubled our transmission range. Remarkable technology." Zayla inclined her head in the Nalari gesture of acknowledgement. "It is an ancient design. We are pleased it serves your needs." Jake noticed the easy interaction between them, the growing comfort between species. Still, the careful dance around certain topics remained, both sides avoiding discussions of weapons energy generation or space travel technologies. The trust was growing but remained fragile. Their tour continued through the greenhouse where Earth plants grew alongside Nalari vegetation, the purple alien flora intertwining with green terrestrial species. The botanists from both worlds were excited by the possibilities of hybridization. The symbolic importance of plants from different planets growing together wasn't lost on anyone. As they finished their inspection, Jake received an urgent message from Commander Hall requesting his presence at the Earth Command Center. He and Zayla made their way there, finding Hall studying long-range scanner reports with a troubled expression. Commander Jake greeted her. "What have you found?" Hall nodded to them both. Her relationship with Zayla professional if not warm. Our deep space sensors detected something approaching the system. Multiple objects moving at high velocity. Their trajectory suggests deliberate navigation. Jake felt a chill run through him. Not asteroids then. No Hall-confirmed ships, and they don't match any Earth configuration. Zayla stepped forward, accessing the scanner data through her neural interface. Her patterns shifted to show concern. These are not Nalari vessels. Either our people have not ventured beyond our atmosphere in generations. They all understood the implications. A third species had entered the equation. Unknown intentions unknown. Capabilities approaching their fragile new alliance. We should inform both governments, Jake said, and the Nalari Council. They need to prepare. Hall nodded already, sending encrypted transmissions to Earth Command. How long until they arrive? Zayla calculated quickly. Based on their velocity, 7 planetary rotations. Perhaps 8 1 week. Jake translated, "Have we attempted communication?" Hall shook her head. "We detected no response to standard hailing frequencies. We're preparing specialized messages." Now Jake considered the implications. Another alien species, potentially more advanced than either humans or Nalari. The timing seemed too coincidental to be chance. Had they detected the increased activity in this system? Were they drawn by the communications between Earth and Nalaria? The news spread quickly through both communities. The human military personnel moved to high alert Commander Hall, ordering defensive positions around their outpost. The Nalari Council gathered in emergency session, their normally calm deliberations giving way to urgent debate. Jake and Zayla found themselves once again at the center of events, both sides looking to them for guidance, for reassurance that their still young alliance could withstand this new development. In the council chamber, Vorin argued for activating ancient defense systems long dormant beneath the settlement. Others counseled patience, suggesting observation before action. Ilara turned to Jake. "Ambassador," she said formally, "you have experience with first contact. Your own species encountered us peacefully. What wisdom can you offer?" Jake felt the weight of expectation. Every Nalari council member watching him, the human representatives equally attentive. His words would shape the response of two worlds. First contact is always uncertain. He began carefully. Humans approached Nalaria with caution but without hostile intent. These newcomers may do the same. Their arrival could be exploratory, diplomatic, or scientific. He paused. But we would be foolish not to prepare for less peaceful possibilities. Commander, Hall nodded in agreement. My recommendation is a coordinated defense strategy. A show of unity between our species. Separate, we might appear vulnerable. Together, we present a stronger front. The debate continued for hours, Jake mediating between increasingly polarized viewpoints. The Nalari tendency toward caution clashing with human readiness for conflict. Eventually, a compromise was reached. Defensive preparations would continue, but hidden discreetly. Non-threatening observation posts would monitor. The approaching ship's communications would remain open, attempting contact in multiple formats. As the council session ended, Jake found himself standing at the crystal observation window, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, unknown beings approached bringing unknown intentions. Zayla joined him, her presence calming. The patterns on her robes reflected his own concern, but also determination. This will test our alliance, she said softly. Our peoples have barely learned to trust each other. Now we face something unknown together. Jake took her hand. It might strengthen us united by a common situation. Her patterns shifted, showing hope mixed with worry. I have studied human history, she said. Your species has often united against external threats. But such unity can come at a cost. A shared enemy can build cooperation but also fear suspicion, aggression. Jake knew she was right. The complex history of Earth showed how outside threats could bring people together, but also how easily that unity could transform into hatred of the other. The Nalari, with their philosophy of harmony and knowledge, might not understand how quickly humans could shift from peaceful cooperation to defensive aggression. The following days brought increased tension. The approaching ships now visible through the Nalari long-range telescopes. Their design unlike anything in either species records. Angular metallic with strange protrusions that defied obvious purpose. They maintained formation moving with precision that suggested high intelligence. Earth Command sent additional ships. Small rapid response vessels arrived carrying specialized military and diplomatic personnel. The human presence on Nalaria tripled overnight, the show of force-making. The Nalari visibly uncomfortable, Jake worked tirelessly to maintain balance, explaining to the Council that the human reinforcements were standard procedure, not preparation for conquest. Assuring the Earth military that the Nalari growing nervousness wasn't hostility, just cultural difference. Their society had known peace for so long that the concept of military readiness felt foreign, even threatening. The night before the projected arrival, Jake and Zayla retreated to their shared dwelling, a structure combining elements of both cultures. They had created a sanctuary where neither was alien, where the bridge between worlds existed in physical form. Jake paced while Zayla observed him with the fascination she still maintained for human behaviors despite their months together. "What troubles you most?" she asked. She had become skilled at reading his moods even without the visible patterns that displayed Nalari emotions. Jake stopped his pacing. Everything, he admitted. How quickly our fragile peace could shatter. The way both sides still fundamentally misunderstand each other despite our best efforts. The unknown intentions of these new visitors. He ran a hand through his hair. A gesture of frustration Zayla had come to recognize. What if they force us to choose sides? What if conflict erupts? Zayla moved to him, placing her cool blue hands on his shoulders. You fear being torn between loyalties. Dawn broke over Nalaria with tense anticipation. The approaching ships now visible in the sky as small metallic specks. Human and Nalari observers tracking their descent. Both communities had prepared according to their natures. Humans with defensive positions, weapon systems, and emergency protocols. Nalari with knowledge-gathering communication arrays and philosophical discussions about potential outcomes. Jake stood with the Joint Reception Committee, an unprecedented alliance of humans and Nalari united by uncertainty. Commander Hall represented Earth military interests. Dr. Patel, the scientific community. Elder Ilara and Vorin represented the Nalari Council. Zayla stood beside Jake, her patterns showing a complex mix of scientific curiosity and personal concern. The designated landing zone lay between the human outpost and Nalari settlement, a neutral space cleared of vegetation with basic accommodations for visitors of unknown biology and needs. As the ships entered the atmosphere, Jake felt his heart pounding. The entire future of human-Nalari relations might depend on the next few hours. He reached for Zayla's hand, drawing strength from her presence. The lead vessel descended with precision, much smaller than Earth ships but larger than the exploration craft Jake had crashed months ago. Its surface gleamed with an iridescent quality, shifting colors as it moved. 4 additional ships remained in high orbit, maintaining position with perfect formation. The ship touched, down without sound, without visible propulsion systems, its metallic surface rippling like liquid before stabilizing. Everyone held their breath, waiting. The seconds stretched into minutes. No hatches opened. No signals transmitted. Nothing. Should we approach? Commander Hall asked, her hand resting near her sidearm. Jake shook his head. Patience. Let them observe us as we observe them. First contact protocols suggest allowing the visitors to make the initial move, Zayla agreed. Accessing data through her neural interface. Their approach was deliberate, their landing precise. They know we are here, they will act when ready. Another tense minute passed. Then without warning, a section of the ship simply disappeared, revealing an opening. No ramp extended, no technological display. Just an entrance appearing where solid metal had been. Moments before, figures emerged, tall and slender like the Nalari, but with crucial differences. Their skin was not blue, but a shifting pattern of colors that seemed to flow across their bodies. They had no visible eyes, only smooth, featureless faces with small breathing apertures. 3 of them emerged, moving with fluid grace that suggested advanced musculature, or perhaps something not entirely biological. Jake stepped forward 1 pace, designating himself as speaker, hands visible in the universal gesture of peace. I am Ambassador Jake Bell, representing both humanity and our friends, the Nalari. Welcome to our world. We come in peace and extend friendship. The central figure turned toward Jake, its featureless face somehow conveying attention. A sound emerged, musical and complex patterns of tone and rhythm that neither human nor Nalari translators could process. Dr. Patel adjusted settings on her translation device, the algorithm struggling to find patterns in the musical language. Zayla simultaneously attempted communication through Nalari methods, projecting patterns and receiving impressions. The visitors seemed to understand the difficulty they conferred, among themselves, their bodies shifting colors rapidly in what appeared to be communication. Then the central figure approached Jake, directly, stopping at a respectful distance. It raised what might have been hands, though the appendages seemed capable of reshaping themselves. To everyone's shock, it spoke in clear English. We are the Varex. We observe, we learn. We connect. Jake managed to hide his surprise. How do you speak our language? The being shifted colors, a ripple of blue and green flowing across its form. We have observed your transmissions for some time. The signals between your worlds. The patterns were clear. Language is patterns. We understand patterns. Commander Hall stepped forward, her posture betraying military caution. Why have you come? To our system. The Varex turned its attention to her. Your species are interesting. Different yet connected. The bridge between unlike minds. This rarely occurs. It must be studied. Jake and Zayla exchanged glances, both understanding the implications. These beings had been watching the developing relationship between humans and Nalari. Their arrival was no coincidence, but a response to the unprecedented alliance forming on this world. Elder Alara moved forward with Nalari grace. We welcome peaceful study and exchange of knowledge, she said. But we must understand your intentions. The Varex shifted colors again, patterns flowing faster. We seek understanding. We collect patterns of connection between different minds. Your species have created new patterns together. Different yet functioning. This is rare. This is valuable. Dr. Patel whispered to Jake. They seem to be xenoanthropologists studying cross-species interaction. Jake nodded, keeping his attention on the visitors. We are still learning about each other, he explained. Our relationship is new, fragile. We hope your presence will not disrupt what we've built. The central Varex made a sound that might have been understanding. Your concern shows the strength of your connection. Disruption is not our purpose. Observation, understanding. These are our goals. The initial contact continued for several hours. The Varex explaining in their strange, precise English that they were travelers, researchers of civilizations. They had visited hundreds of worlds, observed countless species, but rarely found different intelligent species forming cooperative relationships. Their interest was scientific, not political or military. As the humans and Nalari relaxed slightly, the Varex revealed more. They traveled the stars, studying, collecting knowledge. Their technology was indeed far beyond either Earth or Nalari capabilities. They offered to share some of that knowledge as exchange for permission to observe the developing alliance. A new phase of diplomacy began. The Nalari Council debating the wisdom of allowing these researchers to study their society. Earth representatives equally cautious about the motivations of such advanced beings. Jake and Zayla once again serving as bridges now, between 3 species instead of 2. Later, as the diplomatic teams separated to consider formal responses, Jake and Zayla walked with one of the Varex observers through the gardens where Earth and Nalari plants grew together. The being studied the hybrid vegetation with interest. You are like these plants, the Varex said unexpectedly. Different origins. Growing together. Creating something new. Jake looked at Zayla, sharing a moment of understanding. Yes, he agreed. We come from different worlds, but we found connection. The Varric shifted colors in what they had learned was an expression of curiosity. You two share more than diplomatic function. Your patterns show connection beyond professional purpose. This is what interested us most. A bridge. Between minds, not just between species, Zayla responded, her own patterns showing openness. Our relationship was unexpected, an evolution beyond our initial purposes. The Varrics moved closer to the hybrid plants, its body shifting to match their colors. Yes, evolution beyond purpose. This is the most interesting pattern of all. When different species move beyond function, beyond survival, beyond even cooperation, to connection, to understanding, they turned their featureless face toward Jake and Zayla. Why did you choose this? Jake considered the question no one had asked so directly before. Not the Earth representatives concerned with diplomatic implications, not the Nalari Council interested in scientific observations. No one had simply asked. Why, it wasn't a choice, he said finally. Not a deliberate decision. It was recognition. Something between us that made sense, despite our differences. Understanding that went beyond species. Zayla nodded, her patterns shifting to show deep emotional resonance. Humans have a concept called love, she explained. We Nalari have no single word for it. Our patterns express it differently, but the experience transcends language, transcends biology. It simply is. The Varrics shifted rapidly, through colors absorbing. This information, love beyond function, beyond biology, beyond reason, yet creating function, order, purpose. Connection that defies explanation, yet explains everything. They seemed to process this, studying Jake and Zayla with renewed interest. This is why we travel. This is what we seek. Understanding of patterns that transcend expected outcomes. The days that followed brought increasing cooperation. The Varrics sharing knowledge that benefited both human and Nalari communities. Medical advances, environmental. Technologies, communication systems carefully selected to help without overwhelming either society. Their presence acting as catalyst, strengthening rather than disrupting the alliance. Jake found his role evolving once again, now facilitating understanding between three vastly different species, each with their own perspectives, values, and goals. Yet finding common ground in shared curiosity, shared desire for knowledge. One evening as twin suns set over Nalaria, Jake sat with Zayla and a Varrics observer, watching the spectacular play of light through crystal formations. The Varrics had been studying their relationship for weeks, asking questions, observing interactions, collecting data on interspecies bonding. Your worlds will change, the Varrics said suddenly. Connections between different minds always create change, sometimes difficult, sometimes beautiful, always significant. Jake looked at the being curiously. Your species has seen this before. Different civilizations meeting, connecting.